Prototyping. Clara needed to redesign her life. After 35 years of building a successful career as a sales executive in the high tech world, she was done. All Clara knew was that she wanted a life that didn't involve meeting a sales quota every quarter. In fact, she did not even want to hear the words sale quota ever again. Many of her friends had spent the last 2 decades developing side interests, hobbies they were turning into professions, creative interests they were now pursuing full time, and volunteer work that gave them meaning and purpose. All her friends seemed to be leaving their professional careers to pursue something else. But Clara didn't have a something else. She had spent most of her life raising children as a single mom and developing her career in sales. Her children were adults now, her career was coming to a close, and Clara had no idea where to begin or what might be next. So we helped her start from the right where she was and design her way forward. Clara's friends had lot of suggestions for her, and most of them agreed that the important thing was to just get going. If you don't have a good idea, then just pick something and jump in. You are too young to quit now. Whatever you do, don't get stuck bored at home. Just commit to something. That was easy advice for them to give, since all of them at least knew how they wanted to invest their time. Clara didn't. So, where to begin? Clara made a great decision. She recognized that it was good advice to do something, but it was bad advice to jump in and just commit to something because she could easily find herself overcommitted to the wrong thing. What she needed to do was, yeah, scroll please. Find a way of trying things out first without committing herself to them prematurely. She wanted to test drive some possibilities, get some real experience, but do it in water up to her knees, not over her head. Even though she didn't have a specific goal in mind for what she had later called her an core career, Clara did have one possible area of interest. She had been one of the first women ever to sell mainframe computers for IBM and had long considered herself a feminist. She figured, okay, that's still an issue worth working on. Let's look for something to do with helping women. From that moment on, she was actively researching approaches to helping women and keeping her eye out for things she could try. A few weeks later, she was at her local church when a woman was giving a talk about meditation and nonviolent communication and how these techniques were being used to help mothers with delinquent children and battered women in abusive marriages. Clara introduced herself to the woman and started asking questions about her work. These sharp questions got her invited to attend the training class on meditation. It was only a few hours a week, and even if she passed the certification test at the end, there was no obligation. So she did it to get some experience of what it was like to do meditation for troubled women. She took the course and got a meditation certificate. It turned out that there was an opening for a very difficult job, providing meditation services for youth in the juvenile justice system. The position was funded only through the calendar year, so they could not promise how long it would last, but that was fine for Clara. She would be meditating among the courts, the schools, the parents, and the kids, and coming up with an alternative to incarceration for at risk children. It was a hard place to start, but Clara found that her decades of dealing with difficult salespeople in the high tech world made her a natural negotiator and solver. Also, many of the juvenile offenders had single moms, and she had a special place in her heart for other struggling single mothers. Clara found the offer surprisingly attractive. She was ready to try it, though just past part time and just until the end of the year. She was still exploring. Clara continued searching for ways to get involved in women's issues and discovered the Women's Foundation of California, WFC. WFC didn't do anything on its own. It funded other nonprofits that were geared toward a wide range of social justice issues related to women. It was a vantage point for her try stuff out exploration project, so she reached out to the organization. Clara's meditation work impressed the WFC leadership and she was invited to join. During the course of the 3 years she spent serving this foundation, she learned about grant writing and non-profit funding, and she also learned a great deal about 27 different non-profits that were hard at work solving social problems in her region. Along the way, Clara found that she was not drawn to staying involved in the legal system as a mediator, as important as that work was, but she was increasingly drawn to the issue of homelessness, which hits women especially hard. Through WFC, she met a philanthropist who was the largest benefactor for the homeless shelter in her hometown. He asked Clara to become a member of the shelter's board of directors, and it was at that moment that she realized she had found her encore career. She took his offer and dropped everything else. She is now a champion for the homeless in her city and is pioneering a model to solve homelessness locally and nationally. Clara didn't start out with the plan to work for the homeless, knowing that she had not found a specific mission to direct her steps. She carefully and thoughtfully crafted a series of small but illustrative experiences and involvements to design her way forward. Her path to homeless champion, which by the way has become her passion, was not a straight line by any means. She designed the life she is living step by step by thinking like a designer and building her way forward by doing small experiments, prototypes. She trusted that if she kept giving herself carefully selected hands on encounters, she would find her way. She took a class on meditation. She took the job in the juvenile justice system. She joined the Women's Foundation. She learned about the world of non-profits. She got involved in the board for the homeless center. By doing the work, meeting the people, and choosing to explore her options through hands-on experience and not just spending her time reading, thinking, or reflecting in her journal about what she could do next. Clara found her encore career. It was only through life design that she was able to discover a future that had been not only unknowable but also unimaginable. Clara did it, and you can too. Dysfunctional belief: if I comprehensively research the best data for all aspects of my plan, I'll be fine. Reframe: I should build prototypes to explore questions about my alternatives. Prototyping: why and how. Building is thinking is a phrase you will often hear around the design program at Stanford. When that idea is coupled with the bias to action mindset, you get a lot of building and thinking. If you ask people what they are doing, they will tell you that they are building prototypes. They might be prototyping new product ideas, new consumer experiences, or new services. At Stanford, we believe anything can be prototyped, from a physical object to public policy. Prototyping is such an integral part of design thinking that it might be worthwhile to step back a little and make sure that the why of prototyping is as well understood as the how. When you are trying to solve a problem, any problem, you typically start with what you know about the problem. You start with the data. You need enough data so that you can understand what causes what and what is likely to happen when something else happens. Unfortunately, when you are designing your life, you don't have a lot of data available, especially reliable data about your future. You have to accept that this is the kind of messy problem in which traditional cause and effect thinking won't work. Luckily, designers have come up with a way of sneaking up on the future through prototyping. When we use the term prototyping in design thinking, we do not mean making something to check whether your solution is right. We don't mean creating a representation of a completed design. Nor do we mean making just one thing. Designers make lots of prototypes, never just a prototype. Prototyping, the life design way, is all about asking good questions, outing our hidden biases and assumptions, iterating rapidly, and creating momentum for a path we would like to try out. Prototypes should be designed to ask a question and get some data about something that you are interested in. Good prototypes isolate one aspect of a problem and design an experience that allows you to try out some version of a potentially interesting future. Prototypes help you visualize alternatives in a very experiential way that allows you to imagine your future as if you are already living it. Creating new experiences through prototyping will give you an opportunity to understand what a new career path might feel like, even if only for an hour or a day. And prototyping helps you involve others early and helps build a community of folks who are interested in your journey and your life design. Prototypes are a great way to start a conversation, and more often than not, one thing typically leads to another. Prototypes frequently turn into unexpected opportunities. They help serendipity happen. Finally, prototypes allow you to try and fail rapidly without over investing in a path before you have any data. Our philosophy is that it is always possible to prototype something you are interested in. The best way to get started is to keep your first few prototypes very low resolution and very simple. You want to isolate one variable and design a prototype to answer that one question. Use what you have available or can ask for and be prepared to iterate quickly. And remember that a prototype is not a thought experiment, it must involve a physical experience in the world. The data to make good decisions are found in the real world. And prototyping is the best way to engage that world and get the data you need to move forward. Prototyping is also about building empathy and understanding. Our prototyping process inevitably requires collaboration, working with others. Everyone is on a journey, and your prototype encounters with others will reveal their life designs and give you ideas for your own life. So, we prototype to ask good questions, create experiences, reveal our assumptions, fail fast, fail forward, sneak up on the future, and build empathy for ourselves and others. Once you accept that this is really the only way to get the data you need, prototyping becomes an integral part of your life design process. Not only is it true that doing prototyping is a good idea, it is equally true that not prototyping is a bad and sometimes very costly idea. Yeah, someone else want to read?
Anyone would like to read next?
Yeah, I can read. Anyone else written the name or anything? I did not see.
No, nobody has written the name.
Okay, okay. I can read then.
Yeah.
There is slow and steady. Elise didn't need to prototype. She was ready to go. Elise, I guess. After spending years work in human resource departments in large corporation, Elise was ready for a change, a big change. Now, she loved food, especially Italian food, and she loved the experiences she had had in small cafes and deli markets in Tuscany. It was her dream to run a great Italian deli with a small cafe inside that served wonderful coffee and authentic Tuscan food. She decided to go for it. She had saved enough to get started, collected all the recipes she needed, researched the best place near her home to locate such a business, and did it. She rented a place, totally renovated it, stocked it with the best products, and opened to great fanfare. It was an immense amount of work and it was a roaring success. Everyone loved it. She was busier than ever, and in no time she was miserable. She hadn't prototyped her idea at all. She didn't sneak up for a future. She jumped out of the place right into it. She hadn't tried out what it was like working in a cafe, day in and day out. She didn't discover that she had assumed that running a cafe was the same as going to a cafe or planning a cafe. She learned the hard way that she is a great cafe designer and renovation project manager and a lousy deli manager. She didn't enjoy hiring staff over and over, or tracking inventory, or ordering new stock, and don't even ask about the maintenance. She was stuck with this successful store and didn't know what to do. Eventually, she sold it and went into restaurant interior design, but she got there by a very painful path. How could she have prototyped her idea? She could have tried catering first, an easy business to start up and shut down. No rent, few employees, super portable, no regular hours. She could have gotten a job buzzing tables at an Italian deli to have a good look at the dirty end of the job, not just sexy menu planning. She could have interviewed three happy and three grumpy deli cafe owners to learn which group she was more like. We met Elise after it was all over. We heard her story when she was taking a live design workshop with us. After the workshop, she lamented, "Gosh, if only I had taken the slow path of prototyping first, I'd have saved myself so much time." So yes, even if you are in a rush, we recommend you prototype your life ideas. You'll get a better design and save a lot of time and difficulty. Prototype conversations, live design interview. Acha, anyone wants to read, then I can stop. Anyone? Okay, I'll continue then. Prototyping conversations, live design interview. Once you have committed yourself to live design prototyping, how do you do it? The simplest and easiest form of prototyping is a conversation. We are going to describe a specific form of prototype conversation that we call a live design interview. Live interview is incredibly simple. It just means getting someone's story. Not just anyone and not just any story, of course. You want to talk to someone who is either doing and living what you're contemplating or has real experience and expertise in an area about which you have questions. And the story you're after is the personal story of how that person got to be doing that thing he or she does, or got the expertise he has, and what it's really like to do what she does. You want to hear what the person who does what you might someday want to do loves and hates about his job. You want to know what her days look like, and then you want to see if you can imagine yourself doing that job and loving it for months and years on end. In addition to asking people about their work and life, you will also be able to find out how they got there, their career path. Most people fail not for lack of talent but for lack of imagination. You can get a lot of this information by sitting down with someone and getting his or her story. That's live design interviewing. Clara had lots of these conversations and they really helped her. Elise had almost none and it really cost her. The first thing to know about a live design interview is what isn't it was what it's not, a job interview. If you find yourself in the middle of a live design interview and you're answering questions or talking about yourself rather than getting the person of the story of the person you're with, stop and flip it around. This is critical. If the person you are in conversation with misperceives that your meeting is a job interview, then it's a disaster. And your life design interview has failed or will fail. It's all about mindsets. Think about it. When someone thinks you are looking for a job, the first thing on his or her mind actually has nothing to do with you at all. He's thinking, do we have a job opening to discuss? The answer to that is usually no. So, most of the time, you are trying to get a meeting, and the other person thinks you're looking for a job. You don't get the appointment, you just get no. It may seem like a harsh and presumptuous rejection, but it's actually the kindest and most supportive thing that person can do. If in fact you're looking for a job and that person hasn't got one to give or isn't influential in the hiring process, the best thing she can do for you is tell you so and free you to go find someone with an opening who can actually be helpful to you. It doesn't feel like an act of kindness, and most people deliver a rejection poorly. But that is what's actually happening. If it turns out the answer to the first question is yes, we do have an opening available, then the second question is, does she fit here? The mindset of a job interview is critic and judgment. And that is not the mindset we are looking for if we are after an interesting story and a personal connection. In fact, a live design interview isn't an interview at all. It's really just a conversation. So, when trying to get a meeting with someone, you don't use the term interview because that person will assume you mean a job interview unless you are a journalist, and that will make him even more nervous for other reasons. All you're doing here is identifying people who are currently doing things that you are interested in and whose stories you want to get. This is way easier than you think. As soon as you have determined that uh, Anna is cool person doing really interesting work, you and Anna have something in common. You both think that she and what she is doing are two of your favorite topics. The essence of the request for a meeting to have this conversation is, hello Anna, I'm so glad to connect with you. John said you were just the person I needed to speak with. I'm very impressed with what I know about your work, and I'd love to hear some of your story. Might you have 30 minutes to spare at a time and place convenient to you when I can buy you a cup of coffee and hear more about your experience? That's about it, really. And yes, it's important to mention Anna's respected friend or colleague John, if at all possible. John is the guy whose referral made all the difference in your finding Anna and in her being more inclined to accept your request for a coffee. There are lots of Annas in the world who will have coffee with you even if you weren't referred by John, but it works a lot better if you can get a referral. We'll talk about how to get referrals in chapter 8. It's called networking. Yes, you have to network to do live design effectively, but more on that later. Okay. Someone just take over from here.
Shall I read?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
From prototype experiences, na? Prototype conversations are great. They are incredibly informative and easy to come by. But you are going to want more than just stories as input for coming up with your life design. You want actually to experience what it is really like by watching others do it, or better yet, doing some form of it yourself. Prototype experiences allow us to learn through a direct encounter with a possible future version of us. This experimental version could involve spending a day shadowing a professional you had liked to be. Take a friend to work day or a 1 week unpaid exploratory project that you create. or a 3 month internship. Obviously, a 3 month internship requires more investment and a larger commitment. If you are conducted a good number of prototype conversations using live design interviewing, then you will have met people along the way who you may be interested in observing or shadowing. So that variety of prototypes should be pretty accessible for you. You just have to ask and remember people enjoy being helpful. Most people we work with are surprised how well their live design interviews go. The people they meet with really seem to enjoy it. Asking to shadow someone at work is a much bigger favor than a 30-minute cup of coffee. But after a dozen or so prototype conversations, you will be ready to make a bigger request. Try it even if you have to try a few times, you will learn a great deal. Coming up with hands on prototype experiences in which you actually get to do stuff and not just hear about stuff to watch stuff is an even bigger challenge. But it is well worth the effort to get your hands dirty and really discover how something fits you. You would not buy a car without a test drive, would you? But we do this all the time with jobs and life changes. It is crazy when you think about it. Remember all the idea we had that Alice could have tried before the she actually bought and opened daily things like catering a few times or taking a short-term job, bussing tables. Those are the sorts of ideas you are looking for. Conceiving prototype experiences like this is real design work and is going to require having lots of ideas. So, this is a great time to introduce design brainstorming, a collaborative technique for finding lots of ideas. Here we go. Brainstorming prototype experiences. Look back at the Odyssey plans you made in the previous chapter. We hope these sparked some future versions of you that you had liked to explore and that you now have questions that need answers. What is it like working in a small company after all these years at Hughes Incorporated? How is managing an organic farm full time different from spending a summer hoofing, working on an organic farm as a volunteer? What do salespeople actually do all day anyway? Take a closer look at whatever version of your Odyssey plans was coherent, likable, and exciting, and that you are somewhat confident you could do. What are your questions? What would you like to understand better by prototyping the experience? This is the challenge we are going to address by brainstorming some prototypable ideas. Just about everyone has done something called brainstorming before. This is one of those often used and much abused words that can be used to describe anything from a structured creativity exercise to just sitting in a room and tossing around ideas. Brainstorming, a technique for generating lots of creative and out of the box ideas, was first described by Alex Osborne in a book published in 1953 called Applied Imagination. He described a method of generating ideas that relied on two rules: generating a large quantity of ideas without concern for quality and deferring judgment so that participants would not censor ideas. Since this early description, brainstorming has become a popular way of generating ideas and innovations has taken on many forms, but all still obey Osborne's 2 rules. The most common form is group brainstorming. A group of individuals, typically 4 to 6, get together, select a focal questions or problem on which to brainstorm, and then spend a period of 20 minutes to an hour generating as many ideas as possible to solve the problem posed in the focal question. The goal is to come up with ideas that can be prototyped and tried in the real world. Brainstorming requires a group of people who want to be helpful and who have some practice with the technique. It is not easy to find good brainstormers, but once you have a good group, you can make a lot of progress generating live design ideas that you want to prototype. Like great improvisational jazz musicians, good brainstormers learn to focus on a topic, but they can also let go, be in the moment, and improve, coming up with the idea that are truly original. It takes practice and attention, but once you master live design brainstorming, you will never run out of ideas again. Live design brainstorming has 4 steps and a very structured approach to coming up with a lots of prototypable ideas. Typically, if you are the facilitator who brings the group together, you might have already framed the brainstorming topic. You want a team of no fewer than 3 and rarely more than 6 people who have all volunteered to help. Once the group is convened, the session proceeds as follows. Maniselvi, how much more reading is there? Somebody would like to take up from here?
Now we need to go 6 more pages. Anyone would like to read?
Yeah. Can I go?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
Thank you.
Okay. Framing a good question. It is important to frame a good question for a brainstorming session. The facilitator uses the process of coming up with a question as a way to create a focus for the group's energy. When coming up with a question, the facilitator needs to be aware of some guidelines. If the question isn't open-ended, you won't get very interesting results and not much volume. We tend to start all of our live designs, brainstorms with the phrase, how many ways can we think of to make sure that we haven't limited our potential output? Clara could have organized her brainstorm around the question, how many ways can we think of the experience making an impact on women's empowerment? Before jumping into grad school, Chung could have set up brainstorm session asking, what are the functions of career counseling and what encounters can we imagine to reveal what doing of each of them is really like? You also want to be careful not to include your solutions accidentally in your questions. This happens all the time with some of Bill's clients. They want to brainstorm 10 new ways of make a ladder for a stockroom. This isn't a very good framing questions because a ladder is a solution and the only way want 10 ideas and they only want 10 ideas. A better framing would be focus on what a ladder does. How many ways can we think of it to? How many ways can we think of to give a person access to inventory at high places? Or how many ways can we think of to give a stock person 3-dimensional mobility in a warehouse? These questions do not assume the ladders are the only way to solve the problem, and they open the solution space for more creative answers. User-controlled stockroom drones, anyone? Also, be careful that you don't frame a question so broadly that it is meaningless. We sometimes sit on a live design brainstorms where the question is, how many ways can we think of to make Bob happy? This vague question fails for a couple of reasons. First of all, happiness means too many different things to different people. And positive psychology tells us that happiness is a context dependent. So, without a context as my work or my social life, no one knows where to start. Without some constraint, these type of brainstorming sessions tend to generate ideas that are neither prototypable nor satisfying. Most of the times when people tell us our brainstorm didn't work, we find out that they framed a poor question, either one that already assumed a solution or one that was so vague that they couldn't get any traction of generating ideas. Watch out for this when you start a brainstorm with our 4-step method. Two, warming up. People need a transition for their hectic, event driven workday to a state of relaxed, creative attention if they are going to do a good brainstorming. People need support. People need some support and a transitional activity to move from their analytical or critical brain to a synthesizing or non judgmental brain. It's a mind body problem, and it takes some practices to get good at making such a transition. A good facilitator takes the lead and makes sure everyone is warmed up and feeling creative. This is essential if the brainstorming is going to be a high energy and generate a lot of ideas. You can visit our website, designing your dot life, for the list of exercises and improvisational games that we use all the time with our students. Here's one quick idea that always works. Give everyone in your brainstorming group a can of Play-Doh. Bill's been in love with Play-Doh since his days at the toy company Kenner Products. It is a magic material that turns adults into children again. If you just let your brainstormers play with the Play-Doh while making a brainstorming, we guarantee you will get more ideas and better ideas. Get more and better ideas. 3. The brainstorm itself. As we mentioned at the start, brainstorming session needs to be facilitated. The facilitator sets up the room and makes sure there are pens and sticky notes or papers for every participant, and that the space is quiet and comfortable. The facilitator also helps frame the questions. I'm so sorry. Can someone take from here?
I'll read.
Yeah, please. Samina, you'll go ahead.
Oh, I got muted. I'm so sorry. I don't know how.
Yeah.
Okay, the facilitator also helps frame the question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Manages the warm up and makes sure everything that is said is recorded and manages the rules. We recommend that all participants have their own pens and notepads and jot down their ideas. That way, the group isn't constrained by how fast the facilitator can record ideas, and there is less chance of losing a potentially great idea. The rules of brainstorming. First one, go for quantity, not quality. Second, defer judgment and do not censor ideas. Third, build off the ideas of others. Fourth, encourage wild ideas. The go for quantity, not quality rule helps set a common goal for the group and it encourages a lot of positive energy. A good brainstorming team bubbling with ideas, and there is rarely a pause in the output. We use the defer judgment and do not censor idea rules to make sure that brainstorming itself is a safe place to have any crazy idea that comes to mind. People fear being judged as silly, and fear shuts down creativity. This rule helps make sure that doesn't happen. The third one, we build off the ideas of others in the same way a soloist in a jazz quartet riffs off the musical ideas of the soloist before him. We want to use the we want to use the collective creativity of the group, and this rule encourages that creative interaction. The fourth one, we encourage wild ideas, not because the wild ideas themselves are useful, they're rarely used in the final sort, but because we need to break out of the box of typical thinking. When you go far out of the box and spend some time in crazy land, the ideas that follow tend to be more innovative and original. Wild ideas often contain the seeds of the most useful things to prototype. Naming, framing the outcomes. This is perhaps the most important part of a brainstorm and the one activity that we notice most groups leave out. They might take a cell phone picture of um, their wall full of sticky notes, hi fi all around, and then leave. The problem with this is that the information on the wall is pretty fragile, and if it isn't processed right way, the freshness of the ideas and their interconnections get lost. Later, participants often feel that nothing happened and they can't remember what the brainstorm accomplished. Ideas should be counted. You want to be able to say, we had 141 ideas. Group similar ideas together by subject or category, name those categories, and frame the results with reference to the original focal question. Every unique category is given a descriptive and often funny name that captures the essence of that group of ideas. Then vote. Voting is important and should be done silently so that people aren't influencing one another. We like to use colored dots to cast votes, and we also like to use categories such as the most exciting, the one we wish we could do if money were no object. The dark horse probably won't work, but it did. Most likely to lead to a great life. If we could ignore the laws of physics. Once the voting is complete, the selections are discussed and potentially regrouped and framed again. Then decisions are made on what to prototype. On what to prototype first. At the end of a 4 step process, the goal is to say something like, we had 141 ideas. We grouped those into 6 categories, and based on our focal question, we selected 8 killer ideas to prototype. Then we prioritized the list, and our first prototype is often it is possible to back off from one of the wild ideas just a little and turn it into a great idea. Let's say that Clara's brainstorm had the crazy idea of meet with 100 experienced donor woman oriented nonprofits. Clara may have felt that 100 meetings were more than she was able to pull off, but the idea of gaining access to a large body of experience and wisdom was attractive and prompted the derivative idea of looking out for a donor group, which is exactly what she found in the Women's Foundation of California. If you follow all 4 steps and get results like that, your life design brainstorming will be more than worth it. The brainstorm will generate energy and momentum towards your goal of coming up with some prototype experiences to explore. It will also be an exercise you can turn to whenever you need some new ideas, some common support, community support, or just a little more fun in your life with people you trust. A great way to do this would be to combine your Odyssey plan presentation. Combine your Odyssey plan presentation gathering discussed in Chapter 5 with a prototype experience brainstorm session. Your collaboration will have a much better time if they are able not only to give you feedback but also to contribute directly to your life design with ideas and actionable prototype possibilities. Are we reading this also?
Yes, if you may, or I will read it.
Yeah.
Try stuff, prototyping. Review your 3 Odyssey plans and the questions you wrote down for each. Make a list of prototype conversations that might help you answer these questions. Make a list of prototype experiences that might help you answer these questions. If you are stuck and if you have gathered a good group, have a brainstorming session to come up with possibilities. Don't have a team? Try mind mapping. Build your prototypes by actively seeking out live design interviews and experiences. So with this, we come to the end of chapter 6, prototyping. So we'll stop our reading today here and we'll just look back upon what we read today, what stood out and how much of this process we could understand. If there are any things which we have not, then let's try to deliberate on that. Yeah, please go ahead. Anyone would like to share?
Yes, basically, today's this chapter was about that we are not lack of talent, rather we have lack of imaginations, and for this the prototyping was highlighted to life design our career or whatsoever. The process of prototyping, that is 4 step, it was uh, given very nicely. It was told how to brainstorm the questions, how the facilitator has to plan for this brainstorming session. Clara's example was there, that how she got her path by designing her life through women empowerment. Though she was very much worried that after her career was near to close, what she would be doing next. Yeah, this was what I got from today's.
Thanks, Suman, for starting off the discussion today. Yeah, anyone else would like to add to what Suman shared? Anyone? Any takeaways? Anything that stood out?
Yes, there is one takeaway which is too essential for us not to miss is that, we don't jump into anything at the first sight. So that is why this type of prototype came about. That if only Clara had either worked at, some restaurant and seen how it works to find out the ugly side also of it, or brainstormed with people, or thought of it in different ways, then she wouldn't have taken the first step. And after launching it, she started to feel that she was not a 9 to 5 person, and this routine thing was really upsetting her. So only if she thought it before, that would have made her work and life much more easier.
Yes, Amina. So thanks for sharing that very important takeaway from this chapter. Yeah. Anything else you would like to share? Okay. Aduke sir, you want to share something?
Yeah. One is, what I liked is trying out what we feel is our passion. Like if we read Ikigai or other similar books, it may sound that this is the passion, but once we start doing, so I think today's reading said ki we must try out. And another was brainstorming. So when we do brainstorming, more ideas comes. Uh, and I see a similarity of Napoleon Hill book Masterminds. The masterminds 1 plus 1 is 11 or greater than 2. This is my learning from today's reading. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, sir, for sharing your points. Anyone else would like to add here?
Can I, Manisha?
Yeah, Pravina, go ahead.
Firstly, I'm so sorry for abruptly leaving the reading, and that's because I had internet issue, and because I got a call from different number. And coming to the takeaways, I think I could able to relate to Elise here, because it's just not as a prototyping thing. I myself was a person who actually took a business without even knowing much of idea of it during Corona time, and it was not a loss, but it was not a success as well. So that is one point where I consider myself as a great lesson, and going forward, I could able to see most of the prototypings and brainstorming for myself to do any of the other decisions in my life. And second point, which I felt like noticing is, they gave the example of Anna. So Anna is a person who has a similar interest and who wants, you know, a person who's inspiring to be Anna, and they have to have a coffee with her so that they'll know more about it. But at the point that I wanted to add here is there won't be one Anna. There must be many Annas, because we can take suggestions, but it's not like we have to just like we have to have a lot of coffees with a lot of people to get the right perspective and to understand what exactly suits us. So that's my takeaway here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Pravina, for sharing your points. Good to see you here today. Yeah, anyone else?
I like the guidelines of the brainstorming very much. That to get good out of the brainstorming session, we need not to focus the quality of the ideas, just go for the quantity, and even to encourage the wild ideas and stopping the judgment and the fear because they kills the creativity.
Right.
This was very nicely explained.
Right. So thanks, Suman, again for highlighting that. Very true. That's a very important part of the book that we read today. Yeah. Anyone else? I think Anjali remains. Anjali, you want to add something today?
Hi, Maniselvi. No,
Hi.
thank you so much. But actually, I joined very late, so I didn't attend the full session. But yeah, towards the end, one thing that struck me was framing a good question. And I think in NLP also, it is focused. It is very important how we frame question, whether to ourselves or to the other person. And if the question is properly framed, we get a clear answer. But if a vague question obviously gives more confusion. So that is a very important part. Whether designing our own life or working with anyone else. So framing a good question is very important. So that's all. Because since I joined late, I couldn't comment anything for the earlier portion. That's all.
And
Thank
thanks for that addition, Anjali. Yes, the right question framing is very important, and that's what also is highlighted in the book that we read so far. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Mansi, you would like to add? Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I want to add. So basically, for me, many points did connect in today's reading. So first of all, where we started, the interviewing process, and in fact, they have very beautifully even explained that how do we even call it? How do we not? The interview process should not be misunderstood by the interviewer or even the interviewee as such. So that was very well explained, and I had not in this course particularly, but in one of the other courses, I had been part of like a process like that, and and it was before I wanted to start my business. So and it had really helped me even to change my mindset and everything towards it. So we were literally made to, like, as a part of the course curriculum, they had made us interview about like at least 30 people who are in the same field and who are working in the same, like, whatever. First they made us do our goals and everything. That was a very different process than this, but they had made us do a questionnaire around it and then interview them. And the insights that these real things brings into it, not everyone is obviously open to share, but because some people feel insecure, they don't want to give away their trade secrets or whatever they feel, but many people are, and still whatever small or less we can get out of it is of a lot of value. And another thing, like even in this prototyping, what we covered today, so I remember the exercise, I connected with that, the experience that we had. And so we were actually made to do, there were post-it notes given to us, and it was as I mentioned before in the chapter, in the earlier chapters, it was like radical collaboration. So it's like you shoot out a question, and within a frame of time, like, it's very spontaneous, it's very vibrant activity where you don't allow your mind to think. So most of the core and essence of any of the creative activities or any art related activities, if you see, the whole idea is to not is to let your left brain shut. So it's basically stop the analytical thinking and to let out the creativity. So initially, when our brain is not used to it, the very important part is we let it all out. So we are in that childlike state, and where we all how, like, children, they just jump to things, we just jump to ideas without analyzing it. That is very important. They have also highlighted it, and that I remembered of that exercise. And so I just wished if we were all in the same city, we could have done something like that with so much of enthusiasm, because this is something we can do in offline setup more. Online it's very difficult to do, because it's where, like, one person shoots out an idea and others also like volunteer to basically answer that question. So you are never stuck, basically. And there was this one line where it said about being stuck, right? So you just try something so you don't feel stuck. So that also caught my attention, and it was a wonderful read. I like the even variations that they have given: mind mapping, interviewing, or even trying out a few things. So whatever works for us based on our idea and our capability or resources at that point of time. But you have to give it a try and you have to learn from others. I think collectively, if we try to do this, there are lesser chances of we failing. And I also remembered, like, in my we basically stay in a location where uh, it's quite central to our this thing, and where there are many shops around us. So, but and the rents are also very high. So basically, what I see that is there are many restaurants and all, they start. So my husband is kind of a foodie, and he is very much interested into all these food things. So we are keen on observing all of that. So many a times we find that some restaurants and some places, they're working so well, they're always crowded, the seats are full, and the food is very good, everything is very nice, but still we see them shutting down after like an year of so, or even businesses, many businesses happened, right? So I feel that is because the same problem was underlined in this Clara's problem, right? So or I don't remember the exact name, but because she did not, Elise, I guess, she did not interview or she did not understand. And another thing that highlighted for me, considering Elise's example, was there are parts if there is in whatever we do, any work, there are parts of it, like some parts we love and some parts we don't like. So in Elizabeth's book Big Magic, she refers to it as shit sandwich. So she says, like, if you want to be a photographer, for example, so there is a bad part of it, which part you may not like. Like, for example, standing all the full day, and maybe going out and not being able to be with your family, or always being out of the house, is maybe the shit sandwich of that job. So if you have to do something, you also have to understand what is the shit sandwich in it, and you also have to fall in love with that, or you have to accept it and be ready to eat that. Otherwise you will never be able to do it. So I think this is the same term, differently explained in this book, where they talked about you have to understand, right, like what the interviewing process or giving it a try and all of that helps it. So that was a very profound read, and in fact it made me think also, like, what where I should be prototyping, or maybe I'm not prototyping, or where prototyping indirectly or directly in my life has helped me. Like maybe unconsciously we just give it a try, we look around people, and we are observing someone who's doing, and that somewhere helps us. That's also kind of prototyping, is what I just realized. So a lot of insights, in fact. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Mansi, to actually summarize all this so well and relate to other books as well. So yeah, today
And
was
one more thing now, sorry, just one more line. One more thing that I just felt like every one of us summarized, like pointed out different parts of the chapter. Like Anjali pointed out questions part, Suman pointed out a different part, Rajkumar. So that total, or as a group energy also, na, it all collectively gets summarized very beautifully. Sometimes we just something gets highlighted for us in our mind, and something we just skip out, but when we think about collectively, it gets very much highlighted. And just considering Anjali's thing, whole of this book na Anjali, and all of most of us are here from NLP also, so it is also that many things are very coherent with NLP, like reframing, question asking, and so many things. This whole syllabus, I feel, is very coherent. I even had this experience during the workshop, that many things I felt they are very much in alignment with NLP learnings as such. So just wanted to share that. Yeah, Manisalvi, please go on.
yeah, thanks for sharing that also. Yeah, anyone? Anjali, you
Yeah.
want to say something? Yeah, please.
Yes, I just want to add one thing. See, before prototyping, now we have to remember one line I really love from this book, that we can live many lives in just one life. And all the hobbies, all our interests, we generally compromise, or we just keep them aside. Brainstorming with those people who can understand your interest, or who can understand what we are going through, our situation, and they can like indicate to the resources, or the uh, adversities what we might face in the future. So those brainstorming should be done with the like-minded people, or those people who can understand the thing well. And that's how, keep in mind that we have so many things to live. It's not just one goal, or one target which we should focus on. And live the life, live the life to the fullest, live everything whatever we want, we should live. We should focus everything before designing, before this prototyping. So that's all.
Yeah, thanks, Anjali, for that addition. Mansi, your hand is raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Anjali shared. Anjali, actually, to be honest, it's the other way around. The whole process, and to open up to creativity, na, the idea is not to think of who we are aligned with, like thought process wise, but actually, especially for this particular exercise which we are talking about, the question wala exercise, na, that was mentioned at the end, it is actually beneficial to have people with different mindsets, because then they help us understand and look at things from a different perspective, which we are not able to think of. Like for example, like even during the exercises, our groups were divided. We were not allowed to have or work in the same group for different exercises. Like throughout the course, we were constantly shifting our groups. So the idea is that you interact and you learn from different people and their perspectives, and that's how you get unstuck, because people with our type of mindset will have similar type of thinking and solutions, or maybe even they might find the problem getting stuck at a certain situation, but someone else might just not find it. So that just wanted to just add to
No, no,
what
no,
you
you are
said.
right. Understood, Mansi. But
Okay, now
I
you,
was
you could relate it with that Surrounded by Idiots book, just to
okay.
so how have
No,
yeah.
I was just thinking like there are many things, as you also said, that we don't open up with everyone. And
And
when designing,
even strangers for that matter, in fact, it works well with
strangers are
strangers.
good. Strangers are good. See, even in mediation, we are neutral facilitators. We are not biased. We have to be like absolutely neutral to both the parties. Right. So when doing the brainstorming, we have to act as a neutral facilitator, neutral advisors, or neutral, not exactly advisors also. So that way, when we are discussing a problem, we come to a solution. So that's what I said, like if we are designing our life, because here many things are very close to our heart or very secret, which we really don't want to share with everyone. So that time you don't know who knows and who doesn't know. And if you think that we can open up, because if we are not sharing, what will you find the answer for? What, how will you share, get the solution for the problem? So we need to open up, and we can open up only in a safe environment, in an environment where we can trust the person. So I
That
don't know.
is
This
true.
depends. So
No,
this
no, no.
depends
I'm
on
telling
the
you,
kind of, yes.
I
So
got your point. So that's I'm just adding to it. So that's very important that we open up and we feel that the safe is space, and that is the job of the facilitator. So as
yes,
I said, this book is very theoretical, and I feel because
understood,
they have
understood.
courses and everything, obviously they have intentionally written it that way that you will not get the whole of it. But in fact, this is like a teaser where you read the book and you come to the course. It's basically, I feel the book is designed that way, and it's basically the whole idea is that the facilitator, this is a very later exercise if you see. So throughout the course, like if from what I understand, they are also following the same structure in the course also. So this is a very later exercise. So throughout the earlier exercises now, and especially the odyssey exercise and all, we get connected, and that rapport and that safe space, and through the shares and the structure, however they have designed it, you come to that place where you feel that safe space, and then you create, and it's safe enough for you to share your things, but still you're not so accustomed to each other that you fall into each other's patterns. So that's also the right balance and everything that's maintained, because the groups are continuously interchanged and things like that. So I think it's again a design way of conducting things maybe. So that's nice. Yeah, you well pointed it. I just wanted to add to this. Yeah, thank you, but that thank you. It was beautiful.
Yeah. So I think we have almost discussed all the important points here, and basically the only point I think which I wanted to emphasize is the book also says that we require a bit of empathy, compassion, and basically we have to work with people. So we have to be mindful of how we put forth our points to them, and also take back feedback, because the book also says that most people are not able to put forth feedback properly, especially critical feedback or rejections. They are very poor in doing that. So we have to be just mindful and also understand their hesitances to share information, or to, they will also come with their own assumptions to the work that, or the feedback sessions that we are asking for. So basically, considering that we all have our own patterns to handle, as well as others will have their own assumptions when they bring their suggestions to table. We'll have to just be a bit more mindful and try to ask questions or seek more clarification before just writing off things. So that was the additional point which I wanted to highlight. Thanks for your time today. Yeah, so see you tomorrow with the next chapter. Keep practicing, use the mind maps. I think I'm trying my hand with them a bit more seriously this time. It's a bit tough, but yes, as Mansi shares, we'll have to get into the flow. We'll have to create a bit more clarity and a flow state so that it's easier for us to. So see when those states are actually naturally coming to you and try to do those exercises in those states if possible. Yeah, thank
I
you.
just have one idea. Even Suman has suggested maybe sometime na we can take a mind map related book also. Sometime in the future or maybe the new year. So that will help everyone if we can get the copies of. Suman, you only wanted to take up na
Yeah,
mind
yeah,
map.
yeah, yeah, I really want.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it sometime like in the near future. We'll get hold of a good book. Actually, I have hard copies with me, but I don't know. We'll need PDF now for this session. So let's see if we can get hold of that. We can do that.
Yeah, thank you, Mansi.
Thank you, Maniselvi. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Maniselvi.
Thank you, everyone.
Have you taken the notes, Maniselvi? I've taken, but I think while copy pasting only half came, so I have to repaste it.
No, I have not yet taken anything. I'm just trying.
Okay. You're taking now with your prompt.
Yeah, with my prompt, I'm taking first. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. No other reading I've already shared. Now I'm
Okay.
just taking this thing.
Individual.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
individual. But that is also I think I put that is coming half off, so I'll have to edit
Actually,
and
at times it comes half for me also. Yesterday, though, it was very
yeah.
vague. I don't
No,
know.
yesterday maybe because you disconnected na and you were a host na. So I think
Maybe.
because of that only it did not come. It went for me it did not come properly. So I just managed to next time we'll just drop it. Otherwise we'll just whatever works. Like if we have time